So we talked briefly about different ways to increase the consumption rate, but how can we increase it further? Now, before we can understand that, we need to talk about a big problem. All right. So one of the reasons that people stop in the middle of a course is that they are overwhelmed. Now, we talked briefly about this in the previous videos, but this is a big problem. People get anxiety. People get, stressed out when they get in the middle course and they think, oh, this is so much information. I'm getting information overload. They start to second guess themselves and they start to have paralysis analysis. They ask all these questions, which then prevents them from actually moving forward. So how can we combat that? So the best way to avoid this is by what we call drip feeding. Drip feeding content, the idea is simply to space things out so that people receive video 1, video 2, maybe the first day. Maybe they have to do a to-do list before they actually go to video number 3. So what we found over the years is, yes, it can be annoying to some people. And a lot of people get annoyed by that because they are expecting all the videos at one time. But by giving them all the videos at one time, they don't realize that it actually goes against their success. So if you are going to do drip feeding, you may want to mention that in your introduction video and say, look, we've created this course to ensure that you have a high rate of success, that you are able to implement everything that we're going to teach you. So that's something to keep in mind. So like I said, a lot of people get annoyed by that, but like I said, in reality, your students are more likely to implement what you tell them if you space things out. So instead of giving everything on day 1, you can spread it out. Now, the nice thing about LearnDash and other WordPress plugins is a lot of them enable you to drip feed. That's a very standard option these days. Now, you really need to weigh things out. Is that something you really need? Because if your course is very simple, maybe you don't need that. But if it's highly technical, a lot of times you will need that. So that's just something to bear in mind. Knowing your audience is key. So if your audience, let's say, for example, is a lot of newbies, you want to make sure that you space things out. So now what I want to do is jump on over to LearnDash and show you around and show you the drip feeding feature and how to go about implementing that. Okay, so drip feeding your content is very easy to implement. All you have to do is simply go to your course. In this case, we have philosophy. You want to go to your builder, and underneath your builder, you're going to have different lessons. So this is one lesson. This is lesson 2. And within the lessons, we have 2 different topics for each. So let's say we want to release this immediately, and then we want to release this maybe 2 days later. So this one, we don't have to do anything because this is what they see first. This one will have to delay it by 2 days. To do that, it's really easy to do. You just click edit like that. And what that will do is it'll go into that particular lesson. And we want to go to settings. And if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, it's going to say lesson release schedule. So this is the drip feed option. You can either have the lesson be made available immediately. So by default, they're all going to be made available immediately. It says here, the lesson will be available X days after course enrollment, or the lesson will be available on a specific date. So specific date, the only time that you would use that is if you would have like a live class kind of thing. So most of you would use something like the enrollment based. So if we want to delay it by 2 days, you would simply enter 2 days like so, and that's it. So when you're done, you simply click update here, and that's it. So that's what you're going to want to do if you take a look at the map per se. So we got videos 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say that the individual videos are topics that are in 2 different lessons. So videos 1 and 2 are in lesson number 1, and 3 and 4 are in lesson number 2. So what we can do there is, looking at the map, we see what we need to do, and we simply implement that. So if we have like a 3rd lesson, you would simply go to that lesson like we did here, and simply click on Enroll Based and do it 2 days later. So let's say we have 3 different lessons. So one is immediately, the second one is 2 days later, and the third one, let's do 4 days later, because you need to start it after the course enrollment. So that's just something to keep in mind as you implement the drip feed system. And that's it. That's all you have to do. So it's a known fact that people buy courses, but in order to get them to stay, you need to engage them. Now, there are 2 ways to do this. Number 1, the first way is to add quizzes to engage directly with your students. So as we discussed when we mapped things out, remember in video number 3, we created a quiz, but we want to make sure that it's short, it's sweet, it's to the point, and it doesn't take too long. Now, you have to think, does my audience like quizzes? Because some people get overwhelmed by quizzes. So this is all about you knowing your audience better than me. So if that's the case, you may not want to do quizzes. The second way is to have a community. People will stay longer when they don't feel that they are alone. A lot of times people pay more money to be part of a community. So if you don't have quizzes, you definitely want to have a community. Now, you can achieve this by creating a forum. And you can actually do this within LearnDash. So you can do both. You can do quizzes and forums. Now, let's discuss how to go about doing this. All right. So to create a quiz, all you have to do is simply click on quizzes, and this is the quizzes section. You can either create a new quiz or you can edit an existing one. Now, as you can see, you can create the quiz. You can assign it to an author. You can assign it to a course. Each quiz will have a unique shortcode that you can simply copy and paste that into a page. Now, let's just click on Edit here for the sake of showing you a populated quiz. And we can see quiz page. It says Final Quiz, like that. So that's just the basics. And then we click on Settings. And this allows you to add it to an associated course, associated lesson. You can have quiz prerequisites. And you can have a passing score. Now, bear in mind, like I said earlier, if this is a group of people that may get overwhelmed if they get the quiz wrong and they can't move forward, that's something that you need to take into consideration. So if the passing score is 80 and your student continues to take the quiz, but they keep on getting like a 50, that could create a problem. So maybe you just want to do a fun quiz and do a passing score of 0, for example, or 10, something low. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now we've got a quiz certificate, so you can create certificates for that particular quiz. So for example, if this were an exam for something, you could give them a certificate for completing that exam. So obviously, if that was the case, you can definitely up the passing score to something higher. And of course, once you create your quiz, and that's pretty self-explanatory, but once you do that, you can simply add it to the course builder, and that's it. Now, of course, the second option is to create a community with, it could be a forum or it could be a commenting system. So to do that, you will need to have an add-on, If you go to LearnDash add-ons under third party, you will want to install the BuddyPress for LearnDash. So it says BuddyPress for LearnDash integrates the LearnDash LMS plugin with BuddyPress so that you can add groups, forums, members, activity to your courses. So you'll need to install that. And then next, what you want to do is you want to go to groups. You want to create a new group, name the group here, add a description, and then you simply scroll down and you can assign the admin. It says enable. If you enable this, automatically group enrollment when a user enrolls into a course. So you can say anybody who takes a specific course will be automatically added to this group. Now, when you create a group, you can automatically install, delete that, delete. Right here, you can specify, okay, these are courses that have access to a certain group. So like I mentioned earlier, if you want to have one group for all of the classes, you can simply add all of these right here. Now, if you want to have an individual group that is focused for biology, a different group for chemistry, economics, and so forth and so on, you can do that individually as well. Now, after that, you can assign a admin and the users. Now, LearnDash, like I said earlier, provides a lot of information on how to set up forums, how to do all these different types of features that you might want to do. So with that said, let's move on to the next video.